It's time for Wrestling for the Culture, where we take a look inside to see what the wrestlers of color have been doing this week.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of Wrestling for the Culture. I'm your host, Brian H. Waters. This show is, of course, brought to you by the Wrestling Wrealm, generally hosted by myself and the real Dwayne Allen. Make sure you are following us at Wrestling Wrealm. Also, make sure you are subscribed to us wherever you can get all your podcasts from. That is iTunes, or they say Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, you name it, we are there. And of course, subscribe right here on YouTube. So, folks, guess what? We're going to do things a little different in this week's Wrestling for the Culture. We usually start with the WWE, but instead we're going to start with the independents, so let's get right to it. Leading off with my girl, the one, the only Ariela Nyx, winning the Pro Wrestling Magic Championship. Pro Wrestling Magic Women's Championship this week. I mean, she's going to need some more room. She's going to need a bigger bag because she's just got championships on championships on championships. Let's move on. Shout out to the girl, Kaci Lennox, becoming the new Ignite Women's Champion. Women are certainly putting on for the culture, and we're not done yet. As Cassandra, pardon me if I pronounced it wrong, Golden has won another title this past weekend at New American Hostile Championship Wrestling. So shout out to her getting it done. And then Ruthless Lala and Savannah Owens going toe-to-toe. Savannah Evans, I apologize. Ruthless Lala and Savannah Evans going toe-to-toe this past weekend, and it was Ruthless Lala getting a win. So, like I said, the women are certainly, and guess what? We can not mention the one, the only Aja Perera, as she successfully defended her championship against Priscilla Kelly at Evolve 121. She said her parents was in town and they got to see and witness her do her thing. So it's always an honor when you can go out there and would do this in front of the people that loved you, the people that invested in you. So shout out to Aja Perera getting it done. So let's move on. Move on to the men. Dion James defeated Kaya Soldier at Believe in Wrestling. And then let's move on to Evolve 121, where, as we said, Aja Perera was victorious, but also the Street Profits defeated DJZ and AR Fox. We also saw in that night Adam Cole take on Shane Strickland. Unfortunately, Shane Strickland just came up a little bit short. They deemed a dream match taking place only in Evolve, but I promise you, might not be the last time we see it, as we all rooted for Shane Strickland around here. Moving on to the next day, Evolve 122, where we saw Shane Strickland defeat AR Fox, and Angelo Dawkins defeated Eddie Kingston. So let's move on. And we saw Jonathan Gresham and Chris Brooks, known as CCK, defeat my notes are moving. The Aussie Open, Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis. And then in a battle, champion versus champion at PWX, we saw Elijah Evans defeat Darius Lockhart. And then the Syndicate still rolling, as they have defeated the Gymnasty Boys for another title. I believe this is the Fist Wrestling Tag Team Champions. Tag Team Champions. So the Syndicate, if they're not on your radar, they should be, because they are definitely taking over, folks. So let's move on. We're going to go to the WWE right now. So, as you've been knowing, unless you've been sleeping under a rock, Kofi Kingston has won the hearts of everybody, folks. Last Thursday, I should say, on SmackDown, we saw him take on, they was in a gauntlet match, and he pinned Daniel Bryan to open up that match, and then he would go on. He didn't win, but that right there took us to the Elimination Chamber, where many believe this would be the night. And I know I usually don't highlight the losses, but this was a different night. It was down to Kofi and Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan got the best of him, thus leaving Kofi went over more in a loss than he has ever went over in a win. That's my opinion, but I tell you this is not the last we see. At least we're all hoping that Kofi Kingston will be a soon-to-be WWE champion. They gotta, Kofi won one, Daniel won one. They gotta do it again, right? So it's gotta happen soon. Only time will tell. But we also saw history was made in Houston, Texas, as Sasha Banks and Bayley, known as the Boss and Hug Connection, become the first WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. The first ones since 1989. Yeah, folks, I'm not going to be that guy who doesn't remember that there was actually tag team titles beforehand. And then we saw the Usos also on Monday Night Raw, at the Elimination Chamber, win back their tag team titles as they were able to defeat Shane McMahon and The Miz. And, we was talking about Kofi Kingston earlier, so why not bring it up? He, Xavier Woods, and Big E redid the iconic barbershop scene, the scene that made Shawn Michaels the Heartbreak Kid, where Kofi played the role of Shawn Michaels, Xavier played the role of Marty Jannetty, and Big E played the role of Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Check it out on WWE.com or WWE social media platforms. So, I know I didn't get to Wrestling for the Culture on this Sunday. Why? Because it was the same day as the Elimination Chamber and we had to have it. But I gotta highlight the fact that Naomi and Carmella was victorious this past Tuesday on SmackDown. Unfortunately, they did not win in the chamber, but they were a fabulous glow for sure. Moving on. So let's give you some quick news here. Booker T is suing the games publisher Activision. You guys may know that. They're the ones who have Call of Duty. Booker T is suing because one of the characters he said is a ripoff of his G.I. Bro character that he used to use. So thought that was interesting. Who knows? Guess what? I'm all for it. Get your money, Book. So let's move on to the and new presented by the Black Wrestling Alliance. So starting off with the current Reality of Wrestling Tag Team Champions, Fly Death, continued this past week, winning the Heroes of Wrestling Tag Team Championship. So they are a double tag team. If they're at Reality of Wrestling, we know they're getting trained right. Look out for them. Shout out to Booker T doing his thing down there. We know that's where the Usos, that's where Ember Moon made their stops before coming into the WWE. Also, California's own Rocket Boy Wilson he reclaimed his Fist Combat's Get Fisted TV Championship. And according to the BWA Black Wrestling Alliance, it's his third championship victory ever since back in September last year. And then last but not least, Mr. All Day Kenny Bangle becomes a double champion after winning the ECPW Heavyweight Champion, adding to his UPWA North Carolina Championship that he won 5 weeks ago. So shout out to the Black Wrestling Alliance. Make sure you are following them on Instagram. Make sure you are following him on Twitter and on Facebook. He's there. Shout out to my boy A Dazzle. If you haven't, check out the interview I did with him about a month ago now, where he talks about how he started the page, and that's why I love having a partnership where we present each every week his new goal. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap things up for this week's Wrestling for the Culture. Make sure you subscribe to the Wrestling Realm. Make sure you are following me on Twitter at Brian H. Waters, and make sure you are following the Wrestling Realm at Wrestling Realm. Until the next time, folks, so long, everybody. Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Wrestling for the Culture. If you like what you see, go ahead and hit subscribe down below, and make sure you check out other content brought to you by myself and the real Dwayne Allen.